Bayat Beat, a commentary on society and culture with an emphasis on social justice. She also has a chapter in the anthology centering navigating race, authenticity, and power of ministry, published by Skinner House. She is currently working on a book regarding Islam, the Quran, and liberation theology. Reverend Summer serves as a Congregational Life Field Staff in the Pacific Western region of the Unitarian Universalist Association. As we begin, we acknowledge that we are on the historic homelands of various bands of the Cahuilla people, and we honor the unique relationship that we hope emerges between our community and the indigenous people and their traditional territories. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder to recognize, honor, and reconcile and partner with the Cahuilla people whose land and water we benefit from today. Before we begin, we also want you to know that it doesn't matter where you or your ancestors are from, who you love, your gender identity, your theology, politics, or your immigration status. We welcome all who are committed to our core values as expressed in our 7 principles. Together, we come to this place to share our hopes, dreams, and visions. We seek to build a diverse and inclusive community that honors our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Thank you for being with us this morning. Please consider making a donation with our virtual offering basket. Your contribution is an important way to support UUCOD and Safe Schools Desert Cities, our Share the Plate recipient today. Those of you watching on Zoom can just click the link provided in our weekly Constant Contact newsletter or the order of worship you received this morning. If you would like to be on our email list to learn more about us and our programming, please contact us at admin@uucod.org. That's admin@uucod.org. I also have a brief announcement this morning, and we have S2S with a new show this month about love in Puglia. It is a romantic story which takes place, of course, in Puglia, Italy, and it will be performed Friday and Saturday nights, February 25th and 26th at 7:30 here in the sanctuary, and tickets are only $10. As it's a sweet story about taking chances in a relationship with the message that it's not who you love, but that you love. Flyers are available if you're going to be in the sanctuary sometime this week, and you can find them in the foyer. If not, you can direct your questions to Joni Paddock. Now, I will ring our Tibetan bowl as we begin our service, and then listen to our music for centering.
Beloveds, the call to worship this morning is Love Beyond God by Adam Lawrence Dyer. What if every time you woke, your sigh was felt by every being on earth? What if every time you spoke, your words were heard by every ear on earth? What if when you told a joke, you tickled the senses of every smile on earth? What if with each tender stroke, you shared your touch with every hand on earth? What if when your heart broke, you tasted the tears running down every cheek on earth? No bond or brand or gilded yoke. Surely this is love that reaches beyond, that holds one to another and every other to one, no matter the color or where we're from. This is now. This is we. This is love. This is God. And this is love beyond God. Beloveds, welcome to worship this morning.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Our candle lighting this morning is for When Things Aren't Okay, and it's written by Molly Brewer. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now, that there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, And so all I ask in this moment is that you remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love. There is a love holding us. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love. And now, as Barbara Storms lights the BioPOC candle bridge, we can recite the BioPOC affirmation. We light this candle in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as they journey toward spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail.
Hi, I'm Terry LeMaster.
Yes, you are. And I'm Shirley LeMaster.
You got that right.
I've been a UU since 1990 when I moved from New Orleans to Memphis. I wondered, where will I meet friends? And I knew immediately where to go. I went to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the River and joined in 1990. And I went there because I had been to a UU congregation one time before when I lived in Buffalo, New York. And I knew I would find fun, smart, accepting, forgiving, loving people. And so I joined. And then I moved out to California, and later in 2001, I became a member here at UUCOD.
I went to services with Shirley in 2001. However, I did not join at that time, but I was active in the church as I found I was very interested in the people, really liked the people. I served on a number of committees during that time, ran 3 pledge drives, co-chaired the finance committee, and then joined the church in 2011. Later, I served on the board. Why do we pledge?
Well, let me interrupt you one second. I forgot to tell you, I've been on almost every committee the church has, and I was on the board for 9 years, so we have both been very, very active.
Why do we pledge? Any organization, in order to meet the needs of its constituents, has to plan. More importantly, they have to proactively plan ahead of the occurrences. To do that, they need to know what their income stream is going to be. For that reason, we pledge rather than donating weekly to the plate.
One of the things that I really enjoy about our congregation is our beloved community. You, our people. And I also enjoy that each Sunday I get a kernel to think about for the rest of the week. It can be from the sermon, it can be from a reading, from a song, but it gives me something to think about for the rest of the week. We hope you will join us this year. We appreciate all the pledges that you have given in the past, and we hope you will join us this year and pledge generously. Thank you.
Spirit of love, come.
Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla a volar, sube la mar hasta volver la justicia de la vida. Arraígame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
As you know, this is the third Sunday of the month, and it's time to share the plate. And our recipient this month is Safe Schools Desert Cities, which works directly with area schools to empower LGBTQ plus youth, allies, and advisors through education, guidance, and opportunities for self-expression. We work with over 30 gay, straight alliance clubs in high schools and middle schools in the Coachella Valley and surrounding communities. The video you're about to watch, hosted by Eric Ornelas, president of Safe Schools Desert Cities, describes activities and events provided by the organization. In addition to the events and activities described in the video, Safe Schools Desert Cities sponsors a scholarship program for students from Coachella Valley and surrounding communities who are pursuing an education beyond high school. Your support for Safe Schools Desert City will ensure that LGBTQ plus youth in the Coachella Valley continue to receive community support and learn to thrive in a safe school environment. Please give generously, and thank you for your support.
Hello, I'm Eric Ornelas, president of Safe Schools Desert Cities, and I want to thank you for including our organization in the Share the Plate program. What a wonderfully generous way to support nonprofit organizations like ours in the community. I'd like to take a few minutes to describe the work we do at Safe Schools Desert Cities and to talk about why we do it. Now, support for the LGBTQ plus community has increased greatly over the past few decades, which is really wonderful. But challenges remain for LGBTQ plus youth. Compared to other students, LGBTQ plus students are at an increased risk for violent behavior such as bullying, harassment, or physical assault. This, of course, can have a negative effect on their education and their mental health. Safe Schools Desert Cities empowers our youth by offering education, guidance, resources, and opportunities for self-expression. We work directly with the student-run Gay Straight Alliance clubs in over 50 schools across the Coachella Valley and surrounding communities. We offer scholarships to recently graduated high school students who wish to continue their education. We also produce events such as the Rainbow Youth Summit, which is a day of educational and social activities held each March at the UCR Palm Desert campus. We also offer an LGBTQ plus leadership camp in the summer. Currently, it is paused due to the pandemic, but we anticipate resuming the LGBTQ leadership camp in the summer of 2023. In May, we produced the annual Pride Prom in an airplane hangar at the Palm Springs Air Museum. This extremely popular event is attended by over 500 high school students from across the Coachella Valley and beyond. Each November, Safe Schools Desert Cities operates the Youth Zone at the annual Palm Springs Pride Festival as a private space for our kids to enjoy games, activities, food and beverage, and time with their friends. In addition, we invite the kids to march with us in Sunday's Pride Parade. Now, it is the most amazing sight to watch our students light up as they walk proudly along Palm Canyon Drive while thousands of spectators cheer them on. This November, prior to the Omicron surge, we safely and successfully hosted over 200 students in the parade and festival. To give you a sense of what our students experienced, I'd like to share with you a brief video we produced for our social media audience. Please take a look.
Eric Gonzales here from Safe Schools Desert Cities, sending a huge thank you to the community for helping make the 2021 Palm Springs Pride Weekend a memorable one for the LGBTQ+ students we serve. To learn how you can support our LGBTQ+ youth, go to safeschoolsdc.org.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for including Safe Schools Desert Cities in the Share the Plate program. Your generosity will help support our events and programs for LGBTQ+ youth who deserve to know that they are valued and worthy of love, acceptance, and opportunity. On behalf of all of us at Safe Schools Desert Cities, I wish you a healthy, happy, and safe 2022. Thank you.
The Water of Hajar by Mohaja Kaf. After the searing light, after abandonment, after the blow that brings the head to the ground and breaks the teeth, after the unrelenting vision, after the God who requires blood and obedience, how do you find water? It has no content. It is the cupping of the face. It is the wiping of the forehead. It cools the lips and moves without words. It is almost not visible between thorn and rocks where on this earth is the water of Hajar, water that came up from the ground of Hajar, given freely by the God of Hajar.
Thank you, Reverend Summer. What a beautiful reading. Where on earth is the water of Hajar? The water that came up from the ground of Hajar. Reverend Summer will tell us more about this story, about this miraculous healing water. But I would like to share my reflection on this poem, on this reading. To me, it's about healing, faith, and perseverance. It reminds me of two women, one well known and another known just to me and my family. The first is Harriet Tubman, who was born into slavery almost 200 years ago. When she had had enough with her life as a slave, and when she was about to be sold to another slave owner, she decided to escape. Her escape was not easy. Daily, she lived in fear of capture on her journey north. She finally made it to freedom, but she was severely injured, leaving her disabled for the rest of her life. Yet, she dedicated herself to free so many others and to live a life of courage love, and compassion. The other woman is my mother, Mary Gutierrez. She left her violent husband to raise 14 children on her own with no more than an 8th grade education. Mary suffered loneliness, poverty, and fear. How was she to feed her children with her meager income from cleaning homes for rich people? Yet somehow she reached for some miraculous sustenance from her faith. She was able to provide love for her children, who in turn gave her love and support as they grew older or old enough to contribute to their family. Some went on to be decorated soldiers, while others went on to be teachers and other types of helpers. What do these two women have to do with Hajar? Both women found a fountain of miraculous water that provided them with hope, courage, love, and perseverance to make a difference in the lives of others. Harriet Tubman left a legacy of freedom for many by establishing the Underground Railroad. Mary Gutierrez left a legacy of strong, productive citizens who improved their community. Both of these women and other marginalized people throughout history have often reached out to a spring of miraculous water, the water of Hajar, to rise above despair and hopelessness. Let them serve as an example for us when we feel down and desperate, to reach for the healing waters of Hajar within our beloved community. And now it's time to reflect on the joys and sorrows of our community. And on today, February 20th, we have a few entries in our book. First of all, Barbara and I light a candle for our friend Roy McClure, who died this week. May he rest in peace. Barbara and I are also sending strength to our brother-in-law, Shelby Jacobs, who's battling cancer, and our sister Betty, who is his caregiver. We also light a candle remembering the dark and shameful time in our history when Franklin Delano Roosevelt ordered the internment of American citizens of Japanese descent into concentration camps. These and the other joys and sorrows that are left unspoken, we light these candles and we offer up this meditation. It's written by Susan Sukaki. All that we do not know. Day by day, month by month, year by year, we are confronted with all that we do not know, that we do not understand, that we do not grasp. Sometimes we are humbled by this knowledge and say, God, it's too wonderful for me to comprehend, but I know this universe is more grand and more beautiful than I ever could have imagined, and I give thanks for the blessings of being here and seeing, hearing, experiencing, and sensing all that is so wonderful around and in me. Sometimes we are saddened by this knowledge and say, oh, merciful Spirit, we need to have the burden of hurt and suffering removed from us. Grant us the courage, the wisdom, and fortitude to bear the pain of living. Send us those who will carry our burdens for a short while, and send us those who will comfort us with their healing words and thoughts. Sometimes we are angered by this knowledge and say, in the name of justice and compassion, if it be in our power, give us strength and ability to do right, to right the wrongs. For we do not, nor does any person in the world deserve this. Sometimes we are made joyous by the knowledge and we say, Spirit of life, who blesses our world, we rejoice and cheer for our glorious life. Sometimes we are made curious by this knowledge and say, holy and inexplicable is this life. I have no idea what happened or how it happened, but somehow, some way, something changed, and I am free to explore new ways of being. Please always let me continue to search for the unknown in myself and others. Amen.
Where on earth is the water of Hajar? That's a good question. Moja Kaf, the poet of our reading, asks this of us because if anyone knows of the struggle of Hajar, they know that her life was not easy. In the biblical narrative, Hajar, or Hagar, was gifted to Abraham in order to provide a son since his wife Sarah was barren and could not bear a child. Right away, we see that this act of gifting a woman for the purposes of procreation is one steeped in patriarchy and privilege. The idea that one can own another and force them to procreate, and the thought that women are to be used for this sole purpose of providing an heir, it leaves some of us with a bad taste in our mouth in 2022. Later, Sarah miraculously becomes pregnant, and now there are not one, but two heirs, Ishmael and Isaac. We know that Sarah, possibly jealous and fearful, demands that Hajar and Ishmael be sent away. So Abraham obliges and brings them to the desert with only a little food and water, basically to die. What happens next? Well, we know that Hajar finds water through the help of God. The Islamic version of the story is slightly different in that Hajar runs around frantically 7 times between 2 mountains. Then the angel appears to her and shows her where to dig for the water. She and Ishmael, or Ismail in Arabic, survive. And then a tribe comes to stay with them. It is there that a grand new civilization is built, thus beginning the journey of the Islamic peoples. Though the biblical rendition may view Hajar as a concubine or slave, the Islamic one views Hajar as a wife, possibly the daughter of Pharaoh. Thus, when viewed this way, we may think that Hajar should be on equal footing with Sarah, since she is Abraham's wife, and quite possibly not from a lesser status than Sarah. We may wonder why Abraham still discards Hajar and his son Ishmael, if this is so. Kaf's poem reminds us that we are still dealing with patriarchy and notions that marginalized peoples can be discarded, that women and children can still be discarded, their status not as important as others, making them invisible and silenced. So let us center Hajar's voice here. Where on earth is the water of Hajar? The story of Hajar is not just about a mother who found water for her baby son in a desert where none was to be found. It is about a Black woman from Egypt, a wife, a mother, a woman who was abandoned by her husband, left in the desert with little food or water, left to hear the sacred cries of her child longing to eat and drink, left to pray, cry, fear, hunger, thirst, and then find the courage to move, act, search, and believe. It is about a woman who had to embody the Islamic concept, sabr wa iman, patience and faith, or resilience and faith, and courageously act to find that water and build a great nation. How many of us can relate? For some, this pandemic and the response from our government has been like being abandoned in the desert, trying to survive, searching for the water, that healing water that will literally save us. We have had to be patient, mourn loss, cry for help, thirst, move, act, and through it all, have faith that the saving water would appear. Today, for some, we celebrate the first ever elected woman vice president who is Black and South Asian. I'm reminded of the suffragettes who fought for the right to vote. I'm reminded of the civil rights era and the struggle for Black and brown people to be accepted as equal to whites. I'm reminded and grateful that many Unitarian Universalists acted to make this happen. We worked hard and with courage, and we were patient and had faith. For many, there has been a sigh of relief felt and a feeling that a new day has emerged. The healing water, after a long sojourn in the desert, has been finally found. But for others, the desert remains and the water is still lost. Some are mourning the deaths of beloved friends and family. I know I have experienced my own share of loss to this pandemic, losing beloved friends and colleagues. And I long for that water to heal us all. Others are without jobs, homeless, without health insurance, suffering from extreme poverty and inequality, some experiencing food deprivation, others as recipients of systemic racism and oppressions of indigenous peoples, undocumented immigrants, Blacks, Muslims, Latinx, communities of color, our LGBTQIA+, and disabled siblings, to name just a few. And I ask, is the water for them? After the searing light, after abandonment, after the blow that brings the head to the ground and breaks the teeth, after the unrelenting vision, after the God who requires blood and obedience, how do you find water? So many are suffering. So many are suffering because the dream of the beloved community still is not realized in these United States. In the last few years, we have seen mass shootings increasing, pointing us yet again to the crises of mental health, gun laws, and the effects of bullying behavior individually and collectively. It feels too much at times as communities are re-traumatized by yet another senseless killing. Perhaps we feel like Hajar running back and forth between the mountains of Safa and Marwa, searching for a sign, yet there is hope and love embracing all. And yet we are told the water is there under the surface. We just need to dig harder. Dr. Amina Wadud, Islamic feminist, theologian, asks if we're to choose between a God that abandons us, when reflecting a patriarchal notion that Hajar can be discarded and abandoned in the desert by Abraham, or a God that gives life-giving water, perhaps a divine feminine aspect of God. With the election of the first woman of color vice president and the probable selection of the first Black woman to the Supreme Court, is it possible we are moving away from patriarchal notions of government and more toward the embracing of systems that will rid ourselves of patriarchy and allow for the divine feminine to reign? Some worry that with more and more states taking away rights to an abortion by limiting the amounts of weeks allowable for this act, that Roe v. Wade is on the verge of being overturned. We already know that this type of injustice affects communities of color the most and continues to keep BIPOC women in poverty and despair. Will this divine feminine aspect of God help us with the wars raging on the streets of America because we must continue to march in the streets in protest? Massive inequalities still exist regardless of who is in the White House, who is in positions of power in each state, who is elected to the Supreme Court. Those who continue marching in the streets call us to look at our systems that promote the ideology that some lives are worth more than others, that some jobs are worth more than others, that some people's fears are worth more than others. Where on the earth is the water of Hajar? The Quran calls us to bend that arc toward justice, bend it, move it, because justice is the promised land. It is a message that gave hope to the pre-Islamic Arabs who felt that they had no agency to change their destiny. The Quran sent a message to these Arabs that they were to create a society where the genders were equal. Centuries prior to women in the West having the ability to inherit, the Quran provided for that opportunity to Muslim women. The Quran called for freeing the slaves, thus creating a society where Blacks were considered equal. The first slave to be freed was Bilal, who became the Prophet's companion and was the first muezzin, the person who does the adhan, or call to prayer. This holy book called us to get to know one another and respect the cultures and religions of all, and then embodied this by living in peace with the Jewish and Christian peoples and others for centuries. They went even farther to protect the rights of those who lived in Islamic lands to practice one's religion, freedom to practice their religion and their beliefs. That is, there were agreements, covenants issued by Islamic empires that allowed for freedom and toleration of different beliefs. Freedom, true freedom to choose. In fact, the Quran reminds us over and over that God's mercy is love. Adam Lawrence Dyer, in our call to worship this morning, calls us to a deeper compassion for one another. That is perhaps a love beyond God. I wonder, what does that look like? Can we truly hear every word and taste every tear? Can we learn to deeply listen and feel the pains of those most suffering and then act in their best interest, centering their voices as we have now done for Hajj. Can we embody mercy as well? Is this love beyond God? What I do know is this: we cannot stop searching for the healing water that is needed for all of us. We cannot stop building a new America, one that truly provides a land where all are created equal, and a recognition that all have been endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If anything, beloveds, the Hajj story teaches us that with patience and faith, resilience and faith, the water will be found. We may need to run between Safa and Marwa a little longer, but we will find it. We will survive and thrive and build up a great nation just as Hajj did. But I wonder, what must be destroyed in order to create the way of love beyond God, perhaps an extension of God, a creation of something beyond what God had envisioned? A place where love and compassion truly is felt by every molecule on this earth. A place where mercy is the way of the land, the way of our hearts. Wow. That's the America I want to create. As the nation's first ever youth poet laureate, Amanda Gorman, using the concept of light, stated in her inaugural speech, "When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find the light in this never-ending shade? We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover, and every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country, our people diverse and beautiful will emerge battered and beautiful. When the day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Be brave, beloveds. Sabr wa iman, patience and faith. We will build a new way. We will find the water, the healing balm for all, only if we search and dig for it together. It is there. Let us step out of the shade and embrace new ways of being, not steeped in patriarchy, but in life-giving freedoms, because that just may be love beyond God. And that may be what the Hajjats of the world need now more than ever. Where on earth is the water of Hajjat? It is here. It is us. It is love. It is Unitarian Universalism. And we will create it together and be that love beyond God. May it be so, beloveds. May it be so. Amin. Ashe. Blessed be.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy, we are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
And now we will extinguish our chalice with the reading from Maureen Killeran called Daring Vision. We extinguish this chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of this free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth.
Beloveds, a new day is upon us. A new day is upon us. Let us step into the light, out of the shade, as we were called to by Gorman. Let us create a love beyond God, as we were called to by Dyer. Let us find the water of Hajjat, as we were called to do by Kaf. Beloveds, patience and faith, sabr wa iman, resilience and faith, because it is with us together that we will dig and find that water. We will find that water, that healing balm, to heal us all, to heal the world, to heal our country, this United States. Beloveds, may you go forth. May you go forth in peace and love, knowing that you are love beyond God. And with patience and faith, we will create the beloved community. Amin, Ashe, and blessed be.